Hey, welcome back to the Cybersecurity Whisperer for the week of March 23rd. Man, we've got billion-dollar deals, dangerous bugs, ransomware drivers, rogue AI hallucinations, and yes, even March Madness crashes. So buckle up because we're going full throttle for the next 10 minutes. In case you've been living under a router, yes, it's true. Google confirmed it's acquiring Wiz for $32 billion. That's their biggest acquisition ever. Now, Wiz isn't just another flashy startup. I mean, this company hit $700 million in ARR and is on track to pass $1 billion this year. So what makes Wiz special? I mean, it's a graph-based, agentless cloud security platform that Fortune 100 CISOs were rushing to deploy like it was the last carton of eggs during a snowstorm. Now, Wiz nailed three things: speed, simplicity, and scale. They made cloud security usable, and now Google is betting big that this will help them gain market share in the cloud wars against AWS and, of course, Azure. But here's the twist. Wiz will stay multi-cloud, not Google only. I mean, the question is, will that last? I mean, only time will tell. If customers smell vendor lock-in, competitors like Palo Alto and CrowdStrike are certainly going to pounce on that. Now let's talk about a painful data exposure, and no, not because of ransomware. A researcher found that eShift, a healthcare staffing platform, left a 108 gig database exposed online. Now that's over 86,000 records, including social security numbers, photos, medical docs, and more. One spreadsheet had 800,000 plus entries detailing shifts, facilities, and work history. Now, eShift operates in 27 states, and while traveling nurse demand has dipped post-COVID, the exposure is still significant. And this researcher, Jeremiah Fowler, said that healthcare tech they've got to catch up. I mean, the frontline workers caring for us, they deserve better security. Now, moving over to a GitHub supply chain attack. If you're using TJ actioned changed files in your CI pipeline, you've got to stop. It was compromised, injecting malicious code into GitHub workflows and leaking secrets into logs. Now think AWS keys, RSA tokens, and more. So this was a classic supply chain attack, and it's now tracked to CVE 2025 30,066. Now, even though the malicious code was removed, cached actions and log exposure means security teams, they've got to act fast, audit your repos, rotate your secrets, and for heaven's sake, pin your GitHub actions to specific hashes. Oh, and shout out to Wiz's threat research team, ironically. They were among the first to flag and investigate this. Now, on to Medusa ransomware. Now it ships with an EDR killer. Again, this is Medusa ransomware. They're back. They've been around and they're back. And this time they brought a malicious driver named Abyss Worker. Now, this driver is pretending to be a CrowdStrike Falcon driver, and it's signed with stolen certs. And Windows loads it anyway. Why? Because some revoked certs are still treated as valid-ish by the OS to avoid crashing systems. And once deployed, this driver can delete or blind your EDR tools. And it's like ransomware came to your house and unplugged your burglar alarm before kicking the door in. So CISA and the FBI, they've warned Medusa, targeting over 300 orgs, including critical infrastructure. If you're not monitoring your drivers or kernel-level access, now's a great time to start. So we've heard about this before, AI hallucinations, and maybe they've gone too far. Well, a Norwegian man asked ChatGPT about himself, and it responded with a fictional story accusing him of murdering his kids. I mean, yikes. This wasn't just wrong, it was detailed enough to be dangerous. And now OpenAI is facing a GDPR complaint, and the advocacy group NOYB is pushing regulators to take action. The takeaway? AI hallucinations, they're not just funny anymore. They're becoming reputational and legal landmines. Speaking of ChatGPT, there was a bug exploited currently in the wild, which is just adding fuel to the fire. A vulnerability in ChatGPT's backend, it's being tracked as CVE 2024-27564. It's being exploited to redirect users to malicious sites, and over 10,000 exploit attempts came from one IP address. I mean, this isn't theoretical. Attackers are actually targeting banks and financial institutions using server-side request forgery, that's SSRF, to force ChatGPT into making backend calls to attacker-controlled servers. Now, OpenAI, they haven't patched it yet, and so security teams, you've got to tighten those web application firewalls, and you've got to monitor AI-related traffic. I mean, the bots, they're being used against us, which, again, is no surprise. We've talked about that. For those of you following March Madness, and it's not just your brackets and the company bets, but, we're going to end with something lighter. McNeese State beat Clemson in March Madness upset, and their website crashed from all the attention. It sounds like a failure, right? Well, not exactly. I mean, the university estimates they gained $50 million in free advertising from the exposure. I mean, with their student manager, Amir Khan, going viral and landing major NIL deals. Proof that sometimes a crash isn't a breach, it's a breakout moment. Well, we're living in a time where cybersecurity is intertwined with everything from billion-dollar cloud wars to bot-driven misinformation to basketball upsets crashing websites. So you've got to stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, the basics still matter. Whether it's pinning your GitHub Actions, rotating secrets, or securing cloud environments, the fundamentals really are still your best defense. So until next time, I'm your host, Elliot Franklin, reminding you to whisper the truth and shout out the signal. Catch you next week on Cybersecurity Whisperer.